What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. So I mentioned on a couple of my videos that after this upcoming locals that I'm going to post a deck profile of the deck that I ended up taking locals, and the deck that I ended up choosing was Fire King, Dogmatika, Tri-Brigade. I kind of like was looking, I mentioned in the video too that I'm looking at the state of Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's a lot of just bunch of engines you kind of just like put together, not only just the Fire King engine, but I'm gonna do a video kind of talking about some other ones, so I'm not gonna get too much into that. But this is pretty much a 3-engine deck. I really like how it worked, how to like, especially by the end of the tournament when I got more comfortable in a competitive setting with it. So, and also lab some extra stuff, so I made a couple of changes to it from the version that I used, so I will mention those too. But let's go ahead and get into it. If you like what we do, please feel free to like and subscribe. If if not, it is all cool. We're trying to get a 500 subscribers. When we get there, I do have this special giveaway. Well, I do have a special giveaway plan once we get to 500. Hopefully this kind of helps you out, because I really do like this as a nice budget option. So I'll show you what I played. So let's go ahead and start off with the main deck. It's it's pretty standard. So we got the 3 Ponics. That's nothing crazy. They were running the 3 high avatar. This is like, it's pretty standard, but it's very mandatory. You really don't want to run less than 3 of a lot of these. 2 Garunics. You're able to get away with 2 of these because there is like a little bit of like competing with space. So 2 Garunics, it's like very much useful. We're just running 2 of the Arvada. I was running it at 3, but then it kind of came a little clunky, especially when I started messing with this newer engine that I have, like that, because I just recently incorporated the Tri-Brigade in there. So this right here had to go get down to 2, but I do like this at 2 because it is searchable if you have other ways to get to it. So it's just nice. So at 2 is good. 2 is good for this. And then the 1 Barong, that's just mandatory standard. So that's pretty much it for the Fire King engine. The Fire King engine is like, it's pretty big, but at the same time, that's kind of where most of your power comes from. So with the Tri-Brigade, you're running 1 Nerval, 1 Kit, 1 Crass, and 1 Fractal. That is it. You're just running 1 of each of the Tri-Brigades. You don't really need to run like I would sometimes. I would like another Crass, maybe I would like another Kit, but for the most part you kind of just want this small little line, because depending on what it is, if you destroy it, if you're able to destroy it by using Garunics, you could just destroy Kit to get a double Dragon Lords, or if you're able to search it or open up with a Fractal, you can end up with a Appaloosa or a Access Code Talker. So we'll kind of go into that in a little bit. Maybe I'll do a kind of a different video going over a couple combos that I kind of was messing with. So for the hand traps right now, I am running Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, two Ash Blossoms, 2 Droll and Lockbird, and 1 DD Crow. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this in right here. I put it in the trap section, and I'm also running 2 Infinite Impermanents. To be honest, I really feel like this is extremely good for this deck, because I kind of went back and forth whether I run Cross-Out Designator. I ended up running Triple Tactics Talent, kind of as the card, because it's more generic, but I am going to experiment with Cross-Out Designator, which is why I like this combination right here. But right here you have the Ash Blossom, which is very common. Joe and Lockbird, which stops a lot of things. Infinite Impermanents, these are all very standard. But DD Crow, this right here is a little bit different. A lot of people are running Bystials, and Bystials could get stopped in certain situations, or maybe if they're not running Dark Shard Light. But DD Crow is searchable in this deck. Once you see the extra deck, and if you know how this kind of deck works, you realize that like DD Crow becomes a searchable hand trap in a situation. And I did have a couple situations against Purely and against Marine Cess and other matchups that I had that where the card actually became very useful. So I do feel like having that searchable DD Crow is extremely powerful, especially when you're kind of already set up with some other things. And then another 2 cards, because this is Dogmatika, we are running 1 Dogmatika for Release the Knighted and 1 Dogmatika Maximus. To be honest, I really love Maximus. What I like about this deck is a lot of times when you're running a Dogmatika based strategy, if you're not able to resolve the Nadir, or you can't resolve Maximus, you really feel like you lose everything. In this deck, that is just not the case, because like your goal is to not even really activate any of the Dogmatika stuff until after you've gone through through this engine, just because of just because of how the kind of setbacks you have. So so I really feel like this is, I don't know, a lot of people, I wouldn't say they're caught off guard, but like I was able to kind of grind through certain situations. I almost was able to grind through Purely, but like I said, I wasn't able to get to the 5 material Zeus, but that just came down to my inexperience with the deck. So now we're going to go on to the spells. We are going to go and start with 2 Fire King Sanctuary. To be honest, like I wanted to run 3 of this card, but but 2 is just fine because you're running 3 of the Ponics, and then like pretty much like with the 3 Ponics, and then with the ability to kind of like like dig into your deck like with the other kind of search cards, especially if you open up Nadir. I kind of felt like you were good with just 2. And then 2 Fire King Island. I really like having 2 because like I have a certain card in my side deck that I'll talk about that I like using with Fire King Island, going second and going like going second game 2 and 3, or like just for game 2 and 3 in general. But I like having 2 because a lot of the times they're gonna have the hand trap for this, so usually if you're able to like do some kind of like small engine and kind of like control the board, if you have a second one, you can kind of go ahead and get some value off it if they end up destroying your first one and you don't have the Fire King Sanctuary or they banish it. So that'd be kind of cool. And then 1 copy of Skyburn and 1 copy of Circle of the Fire King. I really love Circle of the Fire King, especially because like sometimes people kind of forget, like especially in the matches, people are kind of looking up that you have the Fractal, and then you also have the Kit, which is the fire, and then you have the Fractal, which is the fire. And then if you look at Circle of the Fire King, and just to trigger 1 fire monster, you control 1 fire monster in your graveyard. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. So a lot of times I would sit there and I would use my my Kid or my Fractal to like do some kind of Tri-Brigade play and get like Appaloosa out, and then I would try to normal summon Ponics, and they would try to negate it with like a Veiler or Imperm, and then I would just chain Circle, and then whichever one of these that they haven't activated their effect, you would bring that one out to get you another, get you like a secondary kind of extending play. So I do love this card in this deck. It has so much synergy. On top of that, Skyburn is just really good for like sometimes you get kind of like hand trapped and maybe you feel like you can't put the strongest board up. If you're able to kind of like at least end on this, so at least like the stuff you leave on the board can get used for something and get you potential pluses depending on what you leave on the board. So I really do love these 2 cards. These are just like I really do like them. And then adding to the Dogmatika engine, we are only running 5 cards in the Dogmatika engine, to be honest. We're running the 2 monsters and the 3 Nadir Servant. I am gonna experiment with maybe at least, if not running 1 punishment, maybe running 1 Dogmatika Ecclesia with a punishment. But I really like having my normal summon, so like I really want to work with it. I like punishment, and I would love to kind of put in the deck, especially with the extra deck, but like I said, right now, depending on, like I said, if you don't get a clunky hand, or if you kind of get the if you get the right things going, this is kind of just enough. And Nadir Servant is really good, but you need to have it at 3 because you want to have access. You need to at least be able to send at least 1 extra deck monster to be able to get something going. Like even if you feel like you're gonna get stopped, you might as well just send 1 of them to try to get something. And then the next card right here is Tanky. To be honest, this right here could have been added to either the Tri-Brigade engine or the Fire King engine. I'd rather add this to the Fire King engine. So pretty much like there's pretty much 5, there's 5 cards in the Dogmatika engine, and there's 6 cards in the Tri-Brigade engine. I really feel like this right here should be used to just search for a Fractal. It's like, to do the whole Fractal, send, get the 1 card, and be able to special summon the Karas to be able to get an Appaloosa. This right here is basically a 1 card Appaloosa, and that's why I decided to run the Tri-Brigades in that way. Because if you just open up the Tanky and like and you want to just kind of go off and you're afraid of like Nibiru or Ash Blossom, bam, you're pretty much good right here. You could just go and try for the Tanky. But 2 is kind of where I want it, because sometimes you kind of already have a lot of stuff, and maybe you want to search out Arvada, maybe you want to maybe you already have kind of some other stuff in your hand. So 3 was overkill, 2 is pretty good. The next card that I ran at 2 is Triple Tactics Talent. This was like a somewhat of an MVP style card, even though like in the situation where I used it, I only won once when I used Triple Tactics Talent, but at the same time, it actually kept me in games. If it wasn't for talent, I wouldn't even be in the game. I wouldn't be able to talk about how I actually stayed in games. I ended up going like a 2-2 in the locals, so it wasn't kind of anything special. But at the same time, like just having this card kind of kept me in it. So I kind of see why a lot of people are gravitating towards this instead of Triple Tactics Thrust, because this is just instant value if it's in your hand, where Thrust, kind of depending on what you have, is either value next turn or instant value. So like I said, so having 2 of the having at least 2 was extremely good, and like I said, I didn't really want to play without it. Another card that I kind of had to kind of come at the hand trap is Called by the Grave. I'm actually going to try to experiment with Crossout Designator, because Crossout Designator, like I said, I feel it's like a really good card, but Called by the Grave is pretty much that like end all be all. Like if you have it, you know you're not losing to like the main card, so this is kind of necessary in a deck like this. You just want to have it. And then the last spell is 1-for-1. So one for one, the only time I drew it unfortunately was when I had like 2 of my level 1s in my hand, so it wasn't as useful. But I'm gonna continue like running this card, because like this is one of those cards where it's like, okay, you're seeing it, you're like, okay, like, you know, like it wasn't good for me at that moment, but I know that like in some kind of top deck situation, or maybe even going first, so if you don't have access to the Ponyx or anything else, this right here is extremely versatile, because it can get you either a Tri-Brigade Nerval, or he gets you into the Ponyx. So he gets you into multiple different cards. You just kind of want to have the availability. So I like 1-for-1, even though it's at 1, it's a good card. And the last card for the Spies is Shaddoll Schism. This right here is pretty much a search flex option. I'm probably gonna have to bump this card up to 40, this deck to 41. This is the 41 card, this is the 40 card deck. And I decided to throw in Schism just because I loved having the access to Shaddoll Schism. It's literally, as long as you open them, like, if you open up either Maximus or you open up the Nadir Sturban, you're able to kind of at least have the chance to go in, you know, be able to like put yourself in a position where you can set this up. And a lot of the times, unless you're freaking playing Sky Strikers, when they freaking have the where they have the Widow Anchor, this is like an end all be all a lot of the times. But you have to watch out, because I did misplay and I forgot to send the right card. So Shaddoll Schism is my 40th card in this deck, but I might bump it up to 41. Alright, so let's go and talk about the extra deck. I'm like the side deck. I'm gonna go, you know, let me just go over the side deck real quick. The side deck is honestly not really that important, because I really like need it is side deck to me is very subjective depending on your meta, your locals. But let me just go ahead and go, you know, through this real quick. I decided to do 1 Drone Lockbird to make sure I could have 3. I added 2, you know, Ghost Spell, and then 3 Nibiru, because there's a lot of people like to run like Vanadium, like to run heavy combo. So this is kind of just like a personal choice for my own locals. For the spells, I decided to run Harpy's Feather, Duster, 1 and 2 Cosmic Cyclone. This is kind of like the only thing for my side deck right now that I'm probably 100% gonna keep. Maybe these 3 will be 100% keep, because these right here combined with Fire King Island, if you're able to like, if you kind of want to catch your opponent off guard, you could kind of like side this and kind of going first, you could set it, and then if you know, have your opponent do your combo, and if they get around all your monsters, they're not really gonna think about Fire King Island till the end. So like kind of like when they're trying to go off, you could just kind of chain this to like, you know, get rid to like, you know, sit there and hit your Fire King Island, you know, because like I'm pretty much like, if this card is like leaving the field, let me see. Like I said, like if this face-up card, essentially, yeah, I say if this face-up card, oh yeah. So we're looking at Fire King Island. It says right here, if this face-up card on the in the field zone is sent to the graveyard or banished, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use the following effect of Fire King Island once per turn and once that turn. So essentially, like, you know, like if your opponent somehow like you know, gets around some other stuff and it doesn't, and you kind of lost like, you know, your ability to destroy things, Cosmic Cyclone could act as a way to like blow everything up and kind of get some kind of things going. So I do like kind of having this as like some kind of background strategy. Decided to run Snatch Steal and Chains of Heart. To be honest, like I never sided these in, but I still want to try these because I do feel like these are board breakers that people are not expecting, and I like running cards that people don't necessarily expect, unless the meta is just 100% figured out and it's like you have to run this or you lose. But if we're not in that kind of meta, right now we're kind of in a limbo meta, I like running stuff like this to kind of just catch people off guard and kind of see how they work for, you know, potentially for being like, you know, staple. But I might take them out because I really didn't like use them. Didn't really use them all too much. Lightning Storm was just like a one-of that I wanted to have, just simply because, like I said, you just want to have that extra, be able to destroy the back row, destroy the monsters. That was kind of generic. And then I ran Solemn Judgment. These are completely going to come back into my deck. I like having Judgment because like going first in game 2, you just want to have that. You just want to have Judgment available. On top of that, if you know that you're running, if you know that you're going to be against like a type of deck that that kind of wants to go second, Solemn Judgment just becomes an even that much more better. So like if you know there's someone that plays me Konko or any kind of going second deck, at your locals. Solemn Judgment is like a really good card to be like, okay, we go game 1, we still got 30 minutes, have Solemn Judgment, even if, like I said, like even if you win game 1 and they're gonna make you kind of go second, Judgment just makes that all just way better. So that's why I kind of chose to play Judgment. A couple things will be changed from the side deck, but like side deck is very subjective because it's more kind of for your locals, unless I'm making a video talking about regionals. So let's just go ahead and end this video talking about the extra deck, because this is way more important than everything else. I decided to run 1 Relinquish Anima, 1 Baron, one Baron Blossom. I didn't run the Ancient Warrior Oath double Dragon Lords. I actually one of the other cards that I chose to run in this place was the rank 5 Tri-Brigade Link, and like, to be honest, it didn't get me where I wanted to go. Like my homie Gio told me just to go and run the double Dragon Lords, and I'm playtesting it right now, and this is just way better. It gives me so much more options, so I would just play the double Dragon Lords. Like initially, this was actually the rank 3 Tri-Brigade Link monster. I forgot what the name of it was, but again, my homie Gio told me I should just run this instead, and he's right, because this right here has the ability to target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and shuffle into the deck. So like, that right there kind of like gets rid of a certain advantage, and maybe that could kind of win you the game in certain situations. So I decided just to go ahead and switch that out for this. This is mostly just uses the bridge to go into the next cards I'm going to show, which is Apollo the Goddess, and Axis Code Talker, and also Tri-Brigade Shirog the Omen. In this Tri-Brigade deck, you are not running Revolt, so most of the time this is just sent to the graveyard with either Maximus or Nadir Servant to kind of search you either the Ponix, depending on either Ponix, DD Crow, maybe it'll search the Nerval depending on what kind of situation you're in, but mostly you want to search either DD Crow or Ponix. So these rank 4s though are also cards that you could use that if you have them in your extra deck, especially going first. You want to kind of play this to kind of be able to stop Nib and Ash and all that kind of crazy stuff. These two are kind of more for like board breaking / doing OTK shenanigans, so these are kind of like very much staple necessary stuff. For the fusions, I decided to run one Garua so I could draw. Got the El Shaddai window, you need that for Schism. You got the Entist, you're destroying things, that's obvious. Titanclad, because you want to search depending on what you have, you want to search, the Knight if you have Maximus. So you kind of do this if you do the other setup. El Shaddai, oh my, this is so hard for me. The actual Apollon. This one right here is really good because like if you have the Maximus, you pretty much want to send like this and this, which at the end phase will search you the Dogmatika. If you have the Maximus, it'll get you Monster Negate, which would be 1 special summon, and then this will get you the Schism, and this right here gets you the 1 Shadow monster and a Dark monster. So if you send these two, you automatically could summon Winda. Plus, plus you could basically lock your opponent out of special summoning if if you chain it right, and then you could still have 1 special summon, and this right here won't. And then if you get the if you get the other Dogmatika monster, you can negate an effect. So this is like a really cool combo. I might kind of mention that in a different video. And Typhon, this one right here was actually originally a Shadal construct, which depending on the situation could work, like because I know I'm pretty the Dogmatika monsters are light, so if you so if you're in a situation where you still have Schism face up, you lose Winda and you lose another Dogmatika monster, you could pretty much banish the Winda and the Dogmatika monster to make the Shadal construct, and I never got to use it, but that's kind of something that that was kind of cool. But something I was thinking about, and it's like, why am I not running Super Star Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis? The reason why I thought about that is because this right here is it's pretty much says right here after your opponent specimens 2 or more monsters from the extra deck, you exile from this 1 monster you control, transfer blah blah blah. You cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. So it's like it kind of shuts shuts everything off. But I guess depending on your setup, you could kind of go into like Typhon first and kind of sit there and drop down the Typhon and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna sit there and I'm gonna drop down Typhon, and then I'm just gonna maybe gain a couple extra advantages, attack, pass turn, bounce something, and then next turn you could kind of use some maybe you have a Kieran in your hand, if you have like the Ponics, you kind of use those effects to be able to come back, you know, and do something on your opponent's turn if you have Sanctuary. So like I kind of see, I wanna experiment with Typhon to see if I can kind of like, you know, get that value. If not, then I'm gonna take this back out for a Construct, because like I kind of like the idea of having Construct kind of in the back, especially if you lose all the Dogmatika stuff. And then the last 2 cards in the extra deck is the rank 8 Fire King XYZ, the Garunix Eternity. This is actually really good. You have the Sanctuary, you summon it, destroy everything. It takes out the back row. It gains a permanent 500. And then if you choose not to do all that, if you have Circle the Fire King, this is like really good, because you could pretty much like attack with it. Then you can activate Circle, destroy this, summon a monster, and then if this has like 1 or 2 materials, you could summon 1 or 2 monsters. So it is just really good. So I like this card, and that's pretty much it, guys. All right, guys, that's it for the deck profile. Hopefully that, you know, like hopefully it'll be like a bit helpful, maybe if you're thinking about like running a deck similar to this, or maybe if you're, you know, thinking about if it was possible. It really is possible, but at the same time, like I do want to work a bit with my ratios. I'm not calling this perfect, but like I said, like if you get the right hand, like you can make some really cool combos with this. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Peace out. Catch you in the next one.